All right, here we are. Welcome back to another edition of the podcast. We've got a special guest with us this evening. I don't want to withhold that information, so without further ado, please, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Paul Biedlingmeyer. I am the owner of the Albuquerque Ass Monglers franchise, and I am honored to be speaking here with our commissioner about some of my thoughts on the league, some of my thoughts on current events and sports, and looking forward to making a deal live during the pod with one of you all owners that are watching.
Well, what do I guess you want to come on, you want to talk, make a live trade. I'll just put it out there. It doesn't involve me, I assume. So
It can
can
involve
you,
you.
so you're trying to make a deal now
I'll make a
live.
deal with. I'm going to make a deal with someone. So this is your opportunity to send me a lowball offer and end up getting one of those players that I had mentioned earlier. That I guess maybe you had mentioned earlier in the teaser of the pod.
Well, you mentioned to me. I was just relaying the message. I mean, I don't really have an interest in Chase Brown, so I'll just play that. So I don't know what kind of deal you're looking to strike. If you make a deal, let me know. We'll certainly push it through here. Look, your team is. We'll start with your team. It certainly is ass. How you feeling there? Your team's not looking too hot. So
Well,
give
actually,
us
it's
your best
yeah.
pitch.
So this is how I've honestly about when I reflect about how my team's doing this year. I'm not. I would. I am kind of not. I'm not saying I'm tanking, but I am purely playing for next year, and so everything that I'm doing is to better position myself for players to trade for next year or have a really good lock in a good keeper for next year. That being said, I still always start what I feel the most competitive team that I have based on my lineup. I will still look at the waivers and do cost benefit analysis of whether I'd rather have someone else on my team. And I think that like if this is a year that I was trying, I'd be doing the same roster management. And I'm actually not doing too bad. Like last week, I think I was actually scored in the top half of the league.
Well,
I was
you
number
can certainly.
six. I was the sixth highest scorer last week. So unfortunately, I was up against the number one scorer of the league. But so it's games like yesterday where it's like you guys shouldn't view me as an easy win. And in a way, I'm like, you know what? I like it when my guys do well, but it doesn't hurt me by causing me to win. So I would be very happy to win to end the season. How many games we have? 12? No.
You got another 9 games. You got another 9 weeks.
Okay. So how many total games do we play?
14.
Well, yeah. So if I go 0 and 14, I'm okay with that.
That'd be a
Um,
record. First of all, that'd be a record.
yeah. Well, I'm not shooting for it, but I'm saying I'm okay with that. If I lose, as the second highest scorer every single week going up against the highest scorer, that's great. So that allows my guys to, get some reps in, demonstrate that they're high quality talent that can be on your team. But then I still lock in the number two pick at the very least. We'll see.
Look, this is how I look at it. The first 2 weeks, you ranked dead last in scoring, and you combined to score 100 points in 2 weeks. The last 3 weeks, you managed to get into the low to mid 90s, which not great, but a nice big improvement. And if we were just to take a look at your roster and kind of look at where you stack up, you've got a good defense, you've got an okay quarterback. Um,
I would
Beyond
say
that, you do,
okay.
well, Justin Fields has great keeper value, but he's a ninth ranked quarterback on the year, so he's a low end QB1 for fantasy purposes, which isn't bad. But your running backs are in the 20s, your receivers are mostly in the 20s and 30s, your tight ends in the 20s. And then your bench is only worse in those respects. So I get what you're saying, and I do think you might hit on some players, and certainly there's potential keeper value. Fields has potentially immense keeper value, and Laporta still has some, but I do think tight end's a tricky one to play the keeper game with, as we see this year. So you never know. I just look. You never. We're only 5 weeks in. A lot can happen. Um, Jalen Wright could become a big piece of the Dolphins' rushing attack. maybe Xavier Worthy develops into something more than a gadget player for the Chiefs. I don't know if that'll be the case, but you never know. And certainly there's potential with Deontay Johnson or Chase Brown or Rico Dwaddle. I guess what I'm saying is it's hard to make a deal for those players now based on what they seem to be doing, but there's certainly potential for a lot of growth. So I get it.
Mhm.
I think after you have to look at what your draft capital is and do what you can. So it's not a bad position, all things considered. But in terms of are you would most teams look at your matchup and go easy win, perhaps? Although again, if you're going to average in the mid 90s in terms of points, that puts you on par with at least three other teams in terms of what they do on a weekly basis. So at least makes you competitive in those matchups. And you never know. Bye weeks, injuries, everybody has stinkers from here and there. So yeah, I'm not ruling you out, but at least from pulling an upset, I should say. Beyond that, I don't know.
Yeah. So, what would you like for Deontay Johnson? Well,
I don't really what in all honesty, I don't see he's not an upgrade for me. So it doesn't make sense for me to make that kind of deal. So we have a request to discuss the NLCS bound New York Metropolitans. I don't watch baseball. You very much
evidently
do.
you don't because I asked, can we start this pod right at the end of the game, and you're like, I'm not watching the game, and I'm like, that's terrible. To be honest, I actually haven't been watching too much baseball either, but I did turn it on in the eighth inning, and there's nothing I love more. There may be some other things I love more, but to see the Phillies lose in a close game, that's really exciting, and so that was a nice end. Excited for the Mets fans on the chat. Live a little bit vicariously through you. When I first heard about the Grimace streak, I thought it was the most hilarious thing ever because number one, it involved the costume character. And I also thought it involved the Mets losing streak, which made it even more funny. Then I realized it was a Mets winning streak, and I was like, "Oh, damn it! It's still pretty funny. Not as funny." And I just love it, and it's nice to see the story. It's all about the stories, honestly. Like, yeah, they're playing a sport. You can almost say it's like a random events that happen. But then when you have the stories that you tie together with it, I think it makes it really exciting. So I would be excited to see the Mets advance with Grimace having more of a role. I think next time they do something big with Grimace, though, it'll probably reverse the curse. So they got to probably be wary if he's ever going to make another appearance on the field.
Look, the newest and biggest New York celebrity is the Rizzler. So you got to have the Rizzler, AJ, and Big Justice come out
Yeah,
and support
let's
the
talk
Mets.
about
That's
that
really got to be the
actually.
next thing. Yeah.
So who is the Rizzler?
I don't know, man. I'm not young and hip. I have
Well, I
no
know
idea.
AJ, so I know Big Justice and AJ. I read reading about them, so I understand that AJ used to do like some minor league wrestling, and then he became a
Mhm.
mortgage broker, had a YouTube channel, and his son is Big Justice. And actually, I think Big Justice was actually AJ's wrestling name. And he came on and did like a review because all of his kids, apparently all of his friends that had YouTube channels. It's like, well, my dad has a channel, has a lot of views. Let me do something on his channel, and that started the whole thing. So anyway, now I'm like looking at it, and it's very interesting. I'm not saying like I'm not huge into like the social media stuff, but it's very interesting to see when someone does strike it, what's the big deal about them. And now I'm trying to
Yeah,
figure out like who is the sister and or brother. I don't know if it's a brother, this tall skinny guy who's been in some of the Instagrams. And the
I
Rizzler, I
don't
don't think
know.
is
I have
related
no
to
idea.
them, but he's there.
No, the
So it's
Rizzler's not
just
related to them. So like AJ and Big Justice, they're from down here in Boca, and they started out with like Costco food reviews, and they do like food review stuff, and they bring the boom and the double chocolate chunk cookie or whatever other bullshit nonsense. I have no idea. Um, my brother-in-law showed me some videos a few months ago, and I don't even know who these people are. This is the most ridiculous and stupid stuff. I don't know who the Rizzler is. It's like to me, he's like the Yodler kid, who did like the floss, right? It's like some kid basically who becomes internet sensation famous because of something he did like once on a video, and now he's a thing, right? It's no different than like the Hawk Tuah girl. I mean, she's at least old enough to like parlay it into $1 million podcast. But it's just these kids, and I'm sure there's tons of sponsorship or whatever, YouTube money, I guess. But I don't get it. So who knows? Frankly, I do want to throw in the chat would like to make note that no franchise deserves to lose games more than the Phillies. So I guess that's a good thing for some of you out there. I'm sure Mr. Bodson would disagree. So we'll see if he ever chimes in and or if we ever get him on, we'll let him chime in and defend the Phillies. I want to circle back. You mentioned that you're into the Grimace thing because he's a costume character, but really all it is that you're just into the furries. We know that that's your secret, not so secret pleasure in fantasy. So we'll just leave it there, Mr. Furry. Um, I don't know the Rizzler. I don't get it, but I don't think I'm supposed to get it. So
How old is the Rizzler? Does he have some form of dwarfism, or is he just a little chubby 7 year old? That's what I want to know. Topic for
his
discussion.
name is so his real name is Christian Joseph. He's a child influencer on TikTok. He's from New Jersey. Uh, you know, he's not related to the Costco guys, which is AJ and Big
Yeah,
Justice.
yeah.
The Rizzler is apparently 3'5".
What? He's 3'5"? Yeah.
I
Well, I
just
mean,
I don't know if I buy that. My son is almost 3'5".
wow.
Um, he got his name from his Riz face after his father recorded him for the first time in 2020, preteen. Uh, yeah, I don't know. His age, trying to find this out. Google. I don't know. He's probably a teenager at this point. The kid's probably 14, 15, I would guess.
Yeah.
Hazard to guess.
Poor kid.
I
I
mean,
mean, I hope he can leverage it into something that's exciting and doesn't,
no, I mean, it's
doesn't
just,
root Adam to like the what's her face's the Amanda show. Poor girl. Damn, she had it all. Like she was so freaking funny growing up. Amanda
Amanda
Bynes,
Bynes.
like, oh my
Yeah.
God, what a yeah. Anyway,
I mean, just since we're on the topic, Big Justice is 11 years old. So the Rizzler's probably a couple years, maybe the Rizzler's 13. I don't know. I mean, they're roughly, they're close enough in age, I guess. I don't really know.
yeah,
We're way off track. We are so far away from, uh, you know, well, what we should discuss. Okay, so I mean, circle back. It's fantasy football talk, I guess, in essence. Um, Besides your team, I mean, thoughts, general how the season's playing out. We've got, I think it's a pretty good year. I mean, basically, outside of three teams, I mean, I think realistically, there's a lot of competitive teams this season, and I think it's going to be fun to see how it all plays itself out, and just looking at average points for and the overall strength of rosters. I mean, really, there's a lot of teams still in it, still competitive. I think it's going to be a fun one. Any observations yourself? 5 weeks in, obviously not about your team and this
hmm
trade that you're trying to materialize out of thin air, but anything
yeah.
else you'd like to share?
So yeah, for me, I haven't been doing much scoreboard watching from like week to week on who's playing who and what the scores are for the most part. Um, but what's interesting for me is when I look around. I mean, clearly the Leos division, they're all winners, or at least they're all trying to win. And it's just kind of ironic. Like it's just going to be tough for you guys because you guys are going to beat up on each other. So interesting to see, who comes out of there. Other than that, what I'm kind of interested, what's kind of disappointing is in the Wisey's division. I don't think anyone's trying to win, right? And so then you're in a weird spot, with Eric and JJ. It's like they're doing okay and they're in a spot to do well, given their players and how they've mostly started the season. But I don't think they're trying to win. And then in my league, LaMagna too is in his weird kind of like in the middle. Like I think he needs to commit one way or the other what he's doing. I think he has the ability. I don't think he's trying to win this year. And so that is not good for me because I need to have a little more clarity from people so I know who to trade them.
Well, we still got a few weeks before the trade deadline. It's not like you have to make a decision now, to deal someone. But I do think it's interesting. LaMagna. I mean, if you just look at it, I mean, he averages the fourth most points per week. So it's not for having a necessarily a bad team. He hasn't faced a particularly difficult schedule, but I do think so when you look at that schedule, he had one week he laid an egg. He had another week where Drew went off. Dude's had some bad luck. overall. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely, I agree with you about the Leos division, right? There's definitely sorry, not the Leos division, the Wisest division. There's definitely a division where it's really kind of weak. I think Tate's, the McCaffrey injury, the Rasheed Rice injury, he looks at it and goes, forget what my record is. My division's terrible, but I'm not going to win a lot of these out of division games. And, making the playoffs isn't really a benefit in that scenario. So I get his approach. And I think Jacobs is probably going to find a way to win that division. Just seems to have a slightly better team, overall. But you never know. And I agree with you about the Tombs division. It's certainly got three competitive teams, and there will be some cannibalism that happens there. And in the Leos division as well, Wagner is lucky to probably be 3-2, but he's 3-2. And frankly, every one of those teams scores more than 100 points a week, and we're gonna beat each other up. But between now and then, we've got another 6 games, 6 weeks or so before we start to play each other again. So if we all collectively are winning 4, 5, 6 of those games, it's going to be pretty hard to keep us out of the playoffs. At least three, if not everyone. We've never had everyone from a division make it. Right now, Wagner would, I believe, being on the outside looking in, but it's pretty close.
So
It's
that's
certainly
tough.
close enough. Yeah,
He's definitely all in.
yeah, he's got to be all in, right? I mean, with all that draft capital, he's got to be all in. I mean, I'm all in. You got to be willing to make the sacrifices to put your chips in the middle and be curious if anyone else tries to join me. And I don't think that everyone needs to do that. I sort of kind of probably went a little overboard, but we'll see what happens. Um, it makes it a little more fun, a little more exciting to roll the dice, so to speak. So,
Well, we got about 5 more minutes left in this pod, and we are not closer to a deal. Um, I got a couple offers in. Imagine
uh,
that. I sent
people,
some
people,
counters.
well, people are probably too busy, watching the Yankee game,
You mean the
which in the
Yankee
group.
game or the live stream of Pat Mahomes that will periodically cut away to the baseball game?
Well, the Chiefs are on by, so him and Travis can go gallivanting around as they like to do.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I don't know. I mean, talk about Mahomes. We were talking about Wagner. Mahomes is an interesting case study, right? Mahomes is. I mean, I know Wagner drafted Jared Goff, but Mahomes is the number 15 quarterback. He's been around there mid for the last year, and I wonder at what point, if you're Wagner, you decide to move on. That'd be an interesting decision, if you will. I think it's. I don't know. It's baseball playoffs. It just doesn't interest me. It just doesn't pique my interest. So, but I'm not going to root for the Mets. I know there's Mets fans. I'm not going to root for the Yankees. Not going or the Dodgers or the Phillies. I'll root for the Padres. Orioles
Is
got
it just
eliminated.
apathy because no Giants are in, or just generally the baseball right now? You're like, yeah,
I mean, I'm just not. I mean, the Giants have sucked for so long. So, I mean, I don't have there's not a team I want to watch, but I just don't find baseball compelling. I mean, I
yeah,
get that they've tweaked the rules to try to make the game faster, but realistically, it's just not an overly compelling sport anymore.
yeah.
I'm happy to go and support, my friend Screech, in spring training but I, to
No,
sit
I get
there
it.
and
I get
watch a
it.
game for 3 hours, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just not. I don't know. Like I said, if the Giants were good, maybe I'd feel differently, but I don't. I just don't really have a lot of interest, and I'll follow the big storylines. And when something happens, and the Otani
Yeah.
ball being down here in Miami was, the lawsuit that came about it, and those things are interesting to me. But like, I'm not going to watch Cleveland and Detroit, in the middle of the afternoon. I don't care if they're, it's a hurricane and the office is closed, etc. Like it just doesn't appeal.
How do
You
you
know?
feel about the banana ball?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting to have a different approach or take on baseball and to make it more fan friendly, and um,
They're expanding.
are they?
They're adding, I think, four more franchises, and they're gonna like I mean, number one, they're gonna be doing a big tour next year. Um,
Yeah, I know
there's
they're
got to
coming
be
to
a moment
Miami.
where MLB is a little concerned. Like for them to have this
Eh,
much traction, you got to be like, wait a second, really? So
I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I think if you're Major League Baseball, your product is so different. I almost think of the Bananas kind of like the Globetrotters. I mean, it's a little different, but it's similar, right? It's almost parody of the sport in some ways. So I don't know. I think it's I think if you're Major League Baseball, you can't adopt a lot of those things because you have to make the game
yeah,
competitive and you have to have integrity,
yeah,
for the sport. So it's hard, right? It's like the NFL could take the kickoff from like the XFL, but it really can't adopt like a lot of different rules. You have to have certain things that you have some consistency with. So, I don't know. I do think it's an interesting case study, and can baseball find ways to continue to compete? I don't know. I don't think baseball's gaining fans or gaining viewers, so that's certainly compelling in terms of, well, what can we learn from them? But I don't think they see it as a real competitor. If it's almost like this is like the sideshow act, like I said, it's like the big three of the Globetrotters. It kind of happens at the same time, but nobody really like. You're not really going to, but you don't go to both events for the same reason, if that makes any sense.
hmm yeah,
So I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting. They're gonna have this huge tour, and yeah, if they do expansion, it's great for them. But I don't know, like they're not gonna end up with like a 20-team league. That doesn't seem something that you
yeah,
can sustain, right?
yeah. Well, I recommend you guys if you haven't seen them. I'm sure everybody on the pod is watching the pod and not the Yankees right now, but definitely check out the Savannah Bananas. They were at Nats Park. It was an amazing experience. And if you happen to have a chance to go to Savannah, I heard it's also pretty cool to see them at home. Your tickets, all you can eat, all you can drink, and GA seating. Um, so might be something. Oh, also speaking of like road trips to watch baseball, I'm definitely going to see the Athletics play in Sacramento next year. Going to make a special trip. So if anybody wants to hop on that, it's going to be really interesting to see the Athletics, not the Oakland Athletics, not the Vegas Athletics, not the Sacramento Athletics, the Athletics play next
Yeah,
year.
but if you go, you have to buy one of those ass hats so you can wear the ass hat.
Oh, damn it. I love that hat. I probably should. I didn't buy it because I'm like, you know what? I'm never going to wear this thing. But knowing that I was going to go to a Sacramento game, kind of regret it. But that's
It's the
okay.
most ridiculous. Like the fact that hat got the green light from the team, from the apparel company, from the league is hilarious. But
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, John Fisher sucks. It's definitely the worst owner in baseball by a
Yeah.
mile. So maybe not sport. I mean, maybe U.S. sports. It's pretty bad. So I don't know. I mean, this no, no. Speaking of, we got to get back to your trade. I mean, you just proposed me an offer again. I don't. I'll give you the minute to try to convince me on why you think a receiver who on the year ranks higher than Deontay Johnson and has significantly more keeper value is somehow worth less than Deontay Johnson.
Quarterbacks.
I would argue that they're pretty comparable, number one. And my next question would be, how is that
Red
true?
zone targets, red zone targets,
I mean, okay,
and
but
catchable balls.
in how many weeks do you think I'm starting Deontay Johnson?
How many weeks are you starting Garrett Wilson?
Uh, I mean, not last week, not that it mattered, but sorry, Manny. I mean, even if it's not about would I start him or not. I'm giving up younger player with keeper value who might be traded to a different team or have a completely different quarterback on offense in a week, in a year
So
for a rental.
After Adams gets traded to the Jets, then so where's Wilson? What's Wilson
I
going
don't
to be
think
doing?
I don't think one, I don't know that they make the trade. And two, if they do make the trade, I can't imagine they keep Wilson. It doesn't make sense to them. The other problem they have is if you're Adams, do you really want to, like, where does the Jets rank for Devontae Adams? Because if Rodgers retires after the season, Devontae's stuck there. He doesn't want to be there, like without Rodgers. And I just can't imagine Garrett Wilson wants to stick around if he's going to be the second or third option, the second option. Um, so I don't think they acquire Adams and keep Wilson. They would probably like to make a trade to Vegas where, hey, like we'll just swap the receivers. I'll take that. Give me Garrett Wilson in an offense that's actually going to treat him like a number one receiver. That's fine. We've seen what he can do in that system, in that kind of setup. Again, he's a ninth round keeper next year. Why he's worth more than a rental receiver. And again, even though Garrett Wilson is not a guaranteed starter for me, you're not offering me a guaranteed starter, so I can't make the deal. There's just
Mm-hmm.
nothing for me to like. There's no rationale for me in that scenario. It doesn't mean that there isn't a world where that becomes a viable trade, but it's not a viable trade for me in my circumstance today. You got to remember, my team. I don't really know who I don't have a lot of keeper options, so I got to think about
Okay, well, I do
hang.
have keeper options, so there's
Yeah, but
something
I'd rather have Garrett Wilson as a keeper than
than Justin Fields or Sam
you're not
Laporta.
going to. Well, I don't really want Laporta,
Okay,
and you shouldn't trade me Fields, and I don't need Fields, so it doesn't make sense for me to do that. So, again, I have to balance these various. These are the things I'm balancing, right, and weighing in this scenario. So it's not that I don't like or I'm not intrigued by Deontay Johnson, but I'm not intrigued enough to overlook the other things. So yeah, that's my how I look at it. Doesn't mean that it's right. It's just that's how I look at it.
that's fair. Yeah,
So
I'd like to see Manny a little more engaged in the league, but
I know. Well, he's got a girlfriend now. You know, he's
oh, you
probably
telling
letting
me
her.
not to dox him?
What do you mean?
Does that count as
We
doxing?
no, it's not doxing.
That's more
You know,
doxing than what I did.
I disagree.
Taking a
But
photo of a man in a
100%,
public place versus
100%.
you
Oh,
revealing personal information.
he revealed this. You obviously didn't listen last week. This was revealed and discussed last week, so it's
Okay.
not doxing information that's already out there. Um,
Okay.
Number one, number two. Uh, I, I don't give the man's name, or job title, but providing you live in a place where the court system is all federal, and so we can all put two and two together. I'm just saying. So no, it's just an inside joke more than anything.
Yeah.
So,
No, it was fun though.
look,
I was excited to potentially be sitting in there and having to tell a judge, no, I cannot serve. I know this man.
well, you
Um,
weren't in his courtroom though, were you?
no, but I mean, it could have happened. Honestly, like we were
Oh,
crossing
100% could have
paths in the
happened.
same. I haven't even texted him since the day because I didn't want to like spook him or anything. Although I told him the week before that I was going to be going to jury duty, but like we
Did
were
he
walking paths. It could have been a flip of the coin that I would have been sent to one of his rooms. So
did he see you while you were there?
no, he didn't.
Oh, okay. All right. I see.
Yeah,
Even creepier then. Okay. Fair enough.
that
Fair
was
enough.
fine.
Yeah. So, how was Oktoberfest? Was that good? You survived?
Yeah, it was good. Good hanging out with your brother,
Yeah.
fellow league member Evan Carr, and obviously LaMagna, um, another fellow league member. Wilson disappointed me, disappointed everyone, the family and the extended family. But I think that's okay. You want to cut your teeth on it for once, and then train a little bit and look forward to next year. That or Wilson can choose to identify as a Chihuahua and compete in the next Wharf event where dogs are racing.
Is
So
that Cinco de Mayo? We got to wait like 7 months, or
it's something like that. I don't know when
is
it
it?
is, or there's a tequila festival or something.
Maybe for Day of the Dead or something like that. Maybe that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
That would make sense, I guess. I mean, Cinco de Mayo is only whatever, 7 months, something like that. 8 months, something crazy. 7 months, I think it is. I don't know. Math, it's late. We're dealing with this storm, whether or not it was gonna do anything over here. Tornado warnings and such.
How's our chat looking? I can't see. I'm only looking at our Zoom. Are you on the YouTube?
No, our only comment had to do with the Phillies. A lot of Philly hate, you know.
Yeah, fair
I mean,
enough.
I think it's really disappointing that it's the Mets are embracing grimace. You've got the Flyers. What's I forget what his name is. The
Grady.
weird orange. Um, we should have a fight off, right? We should have a mascot battle. That's what should happen. And Edwin Diaz, they can play the trumpet or whatever in the background, like a celebrity death match. That's what I root for. That's the amount of attention and care I have for the Phillies and the Mets. But somebody's got to win. I'm glad it's the Mets instead of the Phillies. I'll give it that. But like I said, I'm not following baseball. I don't care for the most part. I don't want the Yankees or Dodgers to win the World Series. But beyond that, couldn't tell you. I'm sorry. I'm disappointed you weren't able to execute a trade. Live on air. I agree to swap like 16th round picks, but that doesn't feel like that fits in the spirit of what you're looking to do. So
I mean,
I
I'll
don't
do
know.
it. You want to do it?
It depends. If you feel
Let's
like
do
you're a
it. Let's do
failure,
it. Let's
I
do
don't
it.
even know.
You know what? It would make me happy, actually.
All
Let's
right,
just
let
go
me
ahead.
let me propose something here. Here we go. There you go. 2027 16th round pick swap.
Okay, let's see what we got.
There you go. Feel like you accomplished your goal. Check the box. So,
16. Wait, so I don't get that they're both the 16.1 pick? How's that possible?
well, because it doesn't know where you're going to fall in the standings 3 years from now.
Oh,
Don't
this
get
is in 2027?
Yeah, why not? You would want to do 2025? Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Okay, fine, I'll
It's not
accept
going to make
it.
a difference.
2027.
You know what's the difference? You know.
It's done. Well,
There you go.
we've
So
had
I'll execute
success.
it. There you go. So at least you can achieve success tonight, even if you don't do it in the bedroom. You've at least done it here in the trade machine. So
Yes, that's fair.
happy to yeah, allow you to accomplish that. All right,
Yeah, we'll
sir.
go to bed
Appreciate
happy
it.
tonight.
Yeah. Well, it's all about those happy endings, right?
Yes, appreciate it, Lowell.
Mhm.